North America was like a big, quirky family. Imagine the United States as the loud, opinionated dad who always wants to be in charge, Canada as the polite, easygoing sibling who keeps the peace, and Mexico as the cool cousin who brings the party and flavor. Together they made up a unique trio, each with their own strengths, quirks, and ways of doing things, but all connected by geography and history. For decades, NAFTA was the family recipe that kept trade flowing smoothly, like a potluck dinner where everyone knew exactly what to bring and nobody left hungry. Goods, services, and ideas moved freely, creating jobs and opportunities on all sides of the border. It was a system built on trust, routine, and a shared sense of purpose. But then, out of nowhere, the United States threw a curveball, suddenly slapping new tariffs on steel and aluminum, claiming it was a matter of national security. This move shocked everyone, especially its closest neighbors. Canada? A security threat? That's like being scared of a golden retriever wagging its tail at the border. The idea seemed almost comical, but the consequences were anything but funny. These tariffs threatened to unravel decades of cross-border business relationships, putting thousands of jobs and billions of dollars at risk overnight. Every single day, billions in goods crossed the border, cars, lumber, food, electronics, often moving back and forth multiple times before finally reaching consumers. The supply chains were so tightly woven that even a small disruption could cause chaos. Suddenly, costs spiked, and uncertainty spread like wildfire. Companies scrambled to figure out what the new rules meant and how they could keep their doors open. For businesses, this was a five-alarm fire. Could they still afford to buy and sell across the border? Would they have to lay off workers or even shut down entirely? The seamless engine of North American trade, which had powered so much growth, was suddenly grinding to a halt. Factories slowed, trucks idled, and uncertainty loomed over every decision. Regular people might have seen it as just more political noise on the news, but for companies and workers, it was existential, a threat to their livelihoods and futures. Canada now faced a tough choice. Should it back down and accept the new rules, or stand up, push back, and try to change the game entirely? The stakes couldn't have been higher. The stage was set for a new era in North American trade, one that would test old alliances, reshape economies, and redefine what it meant to be part of this big, quirky family. When you think of Canada, you probably picture politeness, compromise, and a reputation for saying sorry. You'd expect Canada to respond politely, even in tough situations. But this time, when tensions with the United States flared, Canada didn't just apologize or back down, it fought back, surprising many observers. Ottawa hit the United States with tariffs on iconic American goods: bourbon, orange juice, ketchup, carefully targeting products from key states and politicians to make its point felt where it mattered most. It was a bold message. Canada wasn't a pushover. The country was ready to stand up for itself and defend its interests, even if it meant ruffling a few feathers. For decades, Canada had relied heavily on the U.S. for trade, with most goods flowing smoothly across the world's longest undefended border. But these new tensions served as a wake-up call. Suddenly, both businesses and government leaders realized they couldn't afford to put all their eggs in one basket. They needed to diversify, to find new partners and build more resilient supply chains. The ketchup tariff was just the start. It became a symbol of a much larger shift. Canada began rewiring its entire trade strategy, looking beyond its southern neighbor. Companies started seeking suppliers and customers in Europe, Asia, and especially Mexico, forging new relationships and opening up fresh opportunities. The old North-South trade line, once the backbone of Canada's economy, started to branch out in all directions, connecting Canada to the wider world. To make this vision a reality, Canada invested heavily in its ports, railways, and infrastructure, determined to reach global markets, not just the U.S., with greater speed and efficiency. The goal was clear: resilience. Canada wanted an economy that could withstand shocks from any direction, whether political, economic, or even environmental. New highways and railways were built to create alternate routes, bypassing potential U.S. roadblocks and ensuring Canadian goods could always find a way to market. The message was clear. Canada still values its relationship with the U.S., but it's preparing for a future with more options, more partners, and more independence. The ketchup tariff was just the appetizer, a small taste of what was to come. The main course? A complete rethink of Canada's global economic role with new alliances and a stronger, more adaptable economy. Canada was ready to play a new game, one where it could set the rules, make bold moves, and shape its own destiny on the world stage. What did all this mean for regular people? Higher prices, U.S. tariffs on Canadian steel and aluminum made American products, cars, appliances, more expensive. Companies passed those costs to consumers. Canada's counter-tariffs hit grocery aisles. American ketchup and orange juice cost more. The effects crossed borders. Less Canadian demand meant U.S. companies cut production and jobs. Tariffs triggered a messy economic domino effect. Shoppers in Canada started buying local to dodge tariffs. In the U.S., tariffs on Canadian lumber raised home prices. Even if you didn't see a tariff on your receipt, it was baked into the price. Political decisions in Washington and Ottawa landed right in your shopping cart. The cost of coffee, bikes, even school construction, all affected. In a globalized world, what happens between countries lands at your front door. Trade wars aren't just headlines, they hit your wallet. For American businesses near the border, tariffs were a nightmare. A Michigan manufacturer relying on Canadian steel suddenly faced a 25% cost hike. Raise prices and lose customers, or eat the cost and risk layoffs. No good options. Small, family-owned businesses and entire towns felt the squeeze. Tariffs meant to protect U.S. industry sometimes hurt it instead. American farmers lost a key market when Canada retaliated with tariffs on soybeans, pork, and bourbon. Surpluses grew, prices dropped, and rural communities suffered. Businesses lobbied Congress not to fight Canada, but to reverse policies that turned a partner into an adversary. While battling tariffs with the U.S., Canada looked south, to Mexico. The secret weapon-massive Canadian pension funds, managing billions for retirees. These funds invested in Mexican infrastructure, toll roads, renewable energy, water treatment. Why Mexico? A young, growing population and huge need for modern infrastructure. Canadian investments helped build Mexico's economy and created a stronger partner. This wasn't just trade, it was deep, long-term collaboration. Canadian companies felt confident expanding in Mexico, knowing the infrastructure was solid. The result, a self-reinforcing cycle. Canada invests, Mexico grows, both benefit. This strategy diversified Canada's economic ties and reduced reliance on the U.S. It made North America's economic bloc more balanced and powerful. Canada was building a new foundation for the future. Canada and Mexico's growing partnership became a strategic alliance. Both often lived in the U.S.'s economic shadow, but trade tensions brought them together. During NAFTA renegotiations, they coordinated strategies, preventing the U.S. from dividing them. By sticking together, they secured a better deal. CUSMA. Beyond trade, they're aligning on aerospace, advanced manufacturing, and clean tech. Canadian design, Mexican manufacturing, and integrated supply chain to rival anyone. They're building a North American platform less dependent on the U.S. Joint Committee's tackle challenges like electric vehicles and supply chain security. The old hub-and-spoke model is gone. Now it's a triangle with strong connections on every side. Quiet collaboration is reshaping the continent's power dynamics. Canada's trump card? Energy. It's one of the world's top producers of oil, gas, and uranium, most of it sold to the U.S. The U.S. relies on Canadian energy for everything from cars to phones. This interdependence gives Canada quiet leverage. Tariffs can't touch the energy tap. Even in tense times, the U.S. can't risk losing Canadian oil or hydroelectric power. Provinces like Quebec sell clean electricity to U.S. states, helping them meet green targets. As the U.S. goes greener, its reliance on Canadian energy will only grow. The energy connection keeps the relationship stable, no matter the political drama. Canada's energy power ensures it always has a seat at the table. It's the ace up Canada's sleeve in North American negotiations. The days of North America as a one-way street are over. For decades, the U.S. dominated the flow of trade and influence, but that era has faded. Now, the continent is evolving into a dynamic, interconnected network where every nation has a voice and a stake in the future. Trade tensions forced a realignment. Canada and Mexico stepped up, diversified, and strengthened their partnership. They invested in new industries, expanded their global reach, and built bridges not just with the U.S., but with each other, creating new opportunities and reducing vulnerabilities. The result, a more balanced, resilient continent where economic shocks are absorbed together and innovation is shared across borders. This new balance means that no single country can dictate the terms. Instead, collaboration is the key to progress. Canada and Mexico's alliance is now a primary force, not a side note. Their cooperation is shaping policy, driving investment, and setting the agenda for the region's future. They're not turning their backs on the U.S., but building a stronger foundation for all three nations. By working together, they're ensuring that growth and prosperity are shared, not hoarded. The U.S. must see its neighbors as equal partners, not just markets or labor sources. True partnership means listening, learning, and adapting together, not just leading from the front. North America's future depends on true collaboration, a three-way street where ideas, goods, and people move freely and fairly. Only by embracing this spirit can the continent thrive in a rapidly changing world. The era of unilateral moves is ending. Trilateral strategy is in. Decisions are now made at roundtables, not in isolation, and every voice matters. The CUSMA framework is set and new trade patterns are solidifying. These agreements are more than paperwork, they're the blueprint for a shared destiny. The next chapter, tackling climate change, supply chain security, and the digital economy together. These challenges demand unity, innovation, and a willingness to adapt as one. The North American family dinner is louder, but everyone's contributing. Each culture brings something unique to the table, making the whole stronger and more vibrant. The continent is more interesting and more united than ever. As the lights shine brighter together, North America's story is just beginning, written by all three nations side by side.